So my name is Sandra Tenud. It's a Swiss name because I'm also from Switzerland, and I'm a part of the Central Board, the Central Committee of AUF. So we are the largest youth organization here in Norway. So here's just some of the basic about AUF. You are now at our central office. This office, it's run by people our age, and we are the largest one. Right now we're about 10,000 members or so. We mostly consist of members from schools around Norway and universities, young people who gather together because they have the same values. And I would like to tell you a bit about our organization. We have 120 plus local chapters, which means that across all of Norway we have our regions and local chapters, which is our, I'm not sure, a county sort of. So here in Oslo we have a large region with several local chapters. So around all across Norway we have local chapters, which are sort of smaller organizations of AUF, where people gather together and work together to change the world, which is sort of our main goal, is to change the world and to give young people the tools they need, the language they need, everything that they need to learn, and we help them so they are able to do that. So that's why I became a member of AUF, because it's been historically a place where it's easy to engage, it's easy to be political, but also a place where the values have always been values about democracy, freedom, but also values about community. That when we stand together, we are stronger. It's hard to keep track how many times we, as young people in AUF, have been able to make a change in Norwegian politics. Almost every day we're able to do it, and I will give you some examples about that. Here's sort of our organizational chart. We have these local chapters, which is our cities, our small cities, like my county where I'm from. Then we have our regional chapters, which is sort of like a region with a lot of counties. So our main part, which is important, the largest part of our pyramid, we talked about Pythagoras before, our main part of our pyramid is the local chapters. We are a democratic organization. It's important for us that young people who you might be in high school, you're just starting to realize that you want to engage in politics, they hold the most power. I was elected almost 2 years ago. These are the people that choose me, and they vote what are our policies, what will be AUF's politics, and then they have sort of their local leaders, their local people fighting for them, and then I sort of am a part of running AUF day to day. So they work with their local city board, city, what's it called? Their local mayors. They work sort of locally. Here they might work sort of regionally with politics, and we work a lot more nationally. So in AUF I work with school politics, labor politics, but politically I sort of have something that's my responsibility in AUF, which is school politics, education, labor laws, and then I'm the person who, together with other board members, who meet with the government, who meet with the people who make the decisions. So we have a lot of power, and that is because we are a democratic organization, and we have a lot of power because we are so big. The other youth parties in Norway, who are not social democrats, they are big. We're about 10 times bigger than most of them, because in Norway historically a lot of young people, they have been social democrats and they have believed in our values. After World War II, Norway needed to rebuild, and that's when Norway started to really grow as a social democratic state. Before that, when we started to create ourselves, it was at the end of the 1800s. AUF was created at the start of the 1900s. The main part is that unions in Norway were formed first. They formed the union, then the people who were in unions, workers, they decided they wanted to be involved in politics. So they gathered together and then unionized, but then they also created a political party, which was the Norwegian Labour Party. Later on, AUF was created. After World War II, we had been occupied by the Germans for the entire war. We were pretty broke, we were struggling. Then the people gathered together, we formed a new government, and then we built this country. That's something that we are proud in AUF when we talk about. We created jobs, we created a welfare state, we created equal opportunities for all, We built houses for 120 years, I think. We have been the largest youth movement in Norway, political youth movement. Our history has been that we have had a lot of great challenges, but we have had a lot of triumphs. We have a lot of things, but one story I would like to share with you, my friends, is that of vaccinations. Because in the early 2000s, we had a leader, her name is Anniken Huitfeldt, and she was the leader of AUF. And one small local chapter in AUF, they decided that they wanted that all the children of the world should be vaccinated. They thought it was so disgraceful. Norway is a rich country, we should do more. So then AUF started a campaign for a global vaccination fund, that more children in the world should be vaccinated. And because they did that, the UN made a progress with it, which sort of changed the world. Millions of children today in the world, through the UN, are vaccinated. Why are we social democrats? There's a famous quote that everyone in Norway is a social democrat. And that has a lot to do with the history, that in Norway the social democratic parties have they've mainly been the government in Norway. It's not only the rich people that have something to say that are able to rule this country. So because of that history, a lot of people are social democrats, and it has a lot to do with our values, the social democratic values of freedom for all, of solidarity with the world around us, that we are not in AUF, or we are not social democrats because we only think about Norway. We always have our feet planted on the ground with our eyes outside to the world. It's about internationalism, about feminism. We work for equality between the genders here in Norway. And it's about equality in an economic sense. We have a lot of visions in AUF, a lot of big dreams, and social democracy it's an ideology, but it's also a vision. What type of world do we want to live in? When you say you're a social democrat, you often say that you want freedom in the world, you want a world where it's not only the rich who rule, you want a world where it doesn't matter who you are, what you believe in, what country you're from. You need the same rights, the same opportunities as anyone else. We have long-term goals. We also have a daily fight for justice. So that's why we're social democrats. It's both because it's right, but it's also because it works. Olof Palme, yes, you've heard of him. He's one of my favorite politicians. He was a Swedish prime minister who was murdered because he was a social democrat. He was shot in the streets because of what he believed in. He's really famous for a lot of things. He's famous for fighting for free South Africa, to free South Africa from apartheid. My favorite quote of him is that politics, it is to want something. So that's sort of something that I always like to have in the back of my mind. So how AUF works, we create engagement. We go to every school in Norway every year, about 2-3 times, and we talk to every single student. We engage, then we mobilize. I tell young people, I was at school a few days ago, I talked to them and I said, okay, you want this to change, then you need to go to meetings, you need to engage yourself, you need to be a member of something. Then I try to mobilize them, and then we get achievements. Because then when we go to the Norwegian Labour Party, they have a congress every 2 years where they decide, and they are the governing party of Norway. And I want them to change something. But when I show up with hundreds of young social democrats, then it happens.
What's the most common complaint of the students in this era?
Yep.
What's the most common complaint?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Right now, a lot of Norwegian young people, they're really occupied with things close to themselves as well, with the school and the education system in Norway. We had a right-wing government for 8 years in Norway. Not anymore. And they had a lot of new laws in school, like laws for attendance, and a lot more testing, and a lot more sort of bureaucracy in school. And that has sort of led to that a lot more students are finding school harder than before. If you're sick 2 times from geography and you're not able to get a doctor to sign that you have been sick, then you have to drop out. You don't get your degree. So it has become really strict. So that's sort of one of their main issues, is that the school is so strict and that we want more young people to finish school. So one of our main causes is feminism, equality and inclusion. We work a lot with abortion rights in the parliament in Norway. In just a few weeks, I think, they will vote on maybe changing the abortion laws, but in a positive way for women.
Legal? The abortion?
It's illegal. Legal.
Oh.
It's legal, but it has been, with the right-wing government, they made it a bit stricter, but they're sort of looking at how to give women more rights right now. We are looking at drug policies. It's really strict in Norway. You cannot be in possession of anything. We don't want to legalize everything. We just want to make it sure that a lot more people get more help other than just being punished. We want a more humane immigration system, to care more for children in the immigration system today, because in Norway we don't do that much. We want it to be more humane, and we want the European immigration system to be more humane than it is today. And we want better public health system, so that if you're, especially young boys in Norway, a lot of them don't talk that much about their mental health, and we want that to be better and for them to have free mental health services. So international solidarity, freedom for all. Freedom in Palestine, in Ukraine, freedom for Western Sahara. We want to take in 10,000 of UN refugees. We want tax referendums, because a lot of rich Norwegian people, they have been rich on salmon, the fish, they have been rich on oil. They put their money there to hide their money away. We sort of want to fight them harder, because they're running away with their taxpayer dollars, and we want to fight it harder. And a ban on nuclear weapons is a great cause for AUF and for not in all social democratic parties, but we work so that we want the Labour government in Norway to ban in the UN nuclear weapons. They are not against it, but they are not completely for a ban today. So that's one of our causes. Did you have any questions about that? Yeah?
There's a suggestion, maybe, if you consider freedom for all, you can say also Cyprus and the occupied state of Cyprus, if you know a bit about it.
Yes.
You can add about
yes.
that.
Yeah, of course, but we have a lot of causes. These are some of our typical main ones: Palestine and Ukraine, because of the media today, of course. Western Sahara, we have a close bond in AUF, but we also work through social democratic parties in Europe and in the world, are very organized. So we have friendship with social democratic youth politicians in Greece. We have friendship with them in Ukraine, they are our comrades, organizations around the world. So we work together with a lot of organizations about freedom for all. We don't have free school meals in Norway, so I work with so that all children and all young people are able to have bread at school and free food. Access to housing, it's getting more and more expensive in Oslo. It's insane for a young person to get somewhere to live. We want the government to give more loans, to give more opportunities for young people to have somewhere to live. So we want more teachers, more school nurses, and we want to grow the welfare state. Then the environment and climate is our fourth main cause. We work internationally for a fair degree transition. Norway is a country that has become rich from two things, because we have built a great welfare state. We are rich because people have had opportunities. In the 70s, we found oil, which then has been painfully burning the planet. So that's a great cause for AUF, that we don't want Norway to look for more oil, and we work with a green transition. More green power, more water power, more wind power. We work in a green transition. We are going to cut half our emissions. This is AUF policies that the Norwegian government is now doing. So now they are working, in 6 years, they're going to cut half our emissions. We are working against deep sea mining. Norway is one of the few countries in the world who might start mining at the bottom of the ocean. It's illegal in most parts of the world. We are fighting against it in AUF. Our government, they might go for it. So right now we are gathering young people and trying to change that doesn't happen. Did you have a question?
Yes. So your cooperation with organisms about the plastic in the ocean, or about the protection of the nature of the ocean, your cooperation with these organizations?
Yes, we cooperate a lot with different organizations in Norway.
In Norway or globally?
Globally as well, but globally we work a lot with these social democratic organizations.
Of course.
But in Norway we work with the Norwegian branches of a great organizations.
Oh.
But we work a lot with, there's something called Care of Nature organization in Norway. We work a lot with them. Sometimes we work with Greenpeace in Norway. We work with like these large organizations who have branches in Norway. But we often, we talk to these organizations. They help us. They say you need to fight for this right now, and then we gather young people and we fight for it.
I think countries within the European Union cooperate a lot more within the European Union with climate issues.
Does the Social Democratic youth in Norway is in favor of joining EU in some time because of this international view in comparison with other EU countries?
We're a bit split in AUF because a lot of us want to be in the EU, but some of us do not want to be in the EU. Historically, Norway hasn't been in the EU. That has mostly been because of fishing policies and because of agriculture and fishing and a lot of stuff like that. So it's a big question in Norway. We have had a vote 2 times. It was really close, but it lost 2 times. So in AUF, we want a connection to Europe. We work so that Norway doesn't cut ties with the EU. We have with Schengen and like a trade agreement. So for AUF, it's really important that we don't cut ties with the EU, because that would be flawed for Europe itself. It's an election in the EU right now. Norway, we're not a part of it. In AUF, we don't talk that much about the election, but we see that Europe itself is going more right-wing. It's really scary what's happening all around Europe. So for us in AUF, we want to try to help the best we can, so that other countries, don't go in that direction. So, okay, maybe we don't join the EU, but we can cooperate, and we can cooperate more with other countries. That's never been my main cause for us to join the EU, but I don't want us to cut ties with Europe.
In Europe, in the European Union now, the right-wing parties are really having an increase, and the Social Democrats, specifically, have a big decrease in each country. What's your opinion about it? Why does it happen?
It's a really large question, because it sort of depends on the different countries, I think. Like, I think that there's a lot of negative things happening in the world that have sort of affected a lot of the countries that have been social democratic. And I think the war in Ukraine, we know that a lot of things are happening right now that are, meddling with our prices. In Norway, we can see it. We have had extreme electrician bills. We have had a lot of challenges with food prices and stuff we have seen all around Europe. And yes, this is a very complicated subject, but I think AUF's stance is that there are powers in the world that want to attack our democracy. And the way that they do it is that they go for, our prices. And they go for attacking our belief in our leaders. Donald Trump himself, he doesn't care that much about Europe, he doesn't care that much about the world itself. He doesn't really do that. But he talks about it. He talks about Norway all the time. He talks about Europe. Yeah, because he attacks us. He talks about we have weak leaders. Oh, and everything is so expensive in Europe. But he himself, he knows that why things are expensive is because of Putin right now. It's because of the wars happening. So we are all very connected. And I think that there are forces in the world that are trying to weaken our democracies here. And I think that's attacking also we who are democratic socialists.
I see in Greece that from the central to the left, there are a lot of parties, and they have 5% for each one, 10% for the other, and they are separated. But the right wing, they are together. Why this has happened, since in the left side we say, okay, we are all together, we are united, but in the end we are not united. And they don't prefer to have a collaborative government.
I think it's a really good analysis that you have there. I think your point is right. We should be more connected, we should be more together. And that's also what we fight for in AUF. We fight for so that normal people can engage in politics. And we fight so that it shouldn't be that you have a lot to choose between. In Norway there are a lot of political parties. And on the left we have 3 political parties, but we try to work together, we form together, we make governments together. We must never take our democracy or our sort of community on the left. We must never take it for granted. We should work on it every single day to keep together. That's what we do in AUF. We try to form people together. And I also tell young people now, because a lot of young people in Norway, they are looking to the right. Because they see things are expensive, and they see, oh, there's war in Europe and so much happening. Why should I care about others than myself? But we don't give up. I believe in our values, and I believe that we're able to do it. But I think that your analysis is right about Greece, but also about a lot of other countries in Europe.
And what I see is that if we, because for example in Greece, we have the opportunity, because of the analogic system we have before the last election, they have the option to make the government the three left parties, and they didn't want to do it. Everyone wants to have the power. But on the other side, the right-wing parties, they are all together, they have just one big party, they vote this, and they are getting the government 8 years now, and probably they're going to get the next one also. Because on the left, they just want, okay, I want to be the leader, or I want to be the leader, I don't want to collaborate with you. See, and at the time that they have all the same policies. If you see their status, it's almost the same. I don't say for communism or for left, but at least from the center to the progressive left, they are almost the same.
But it sounds like to me that they need a change, and I think they might need a generational change. And that's also been a problem in Norway, cooperation between parties. But that's also something that in AUF we work with the other youth parties on the left and central left. Like I go to have a beer with them on the weekends. I go to their meetings. I talk with them. We also work so that the Labour Party has a generational change. That's really important for social democracies, that young people gather together, and I think that is also what works for us. But like we are looking out on Europe, and we are scared because we don't take anything here in Norway for granted. I would like to talk to you about the 22nd of July in 2011, the terrorist attack against AUF. In 2011, it's 13 years ago. This year there was a terrorist attack against Utøya, which is our island. And you can see a map of Utøya behind there. It's an island that Utøya was given so that we could have summer camps and so that we can gather. So it's an island run by us. I am a member of AUF, so I own a part of Utøya. So every now and then I go to Utøya. I am part of, we mow the grass, we build the buildings, we run an island. But it has also been a very important political part of Norway. Because on Utøya we have meetings in Congress, we gather together, and on Utøya we invite politicians. So it's a very political place. We discuss politics, we gather together, it's a really special thing. But throughout history it has been this. Utøya and AUF, we were attacked by a right-wing extremist called Anders Behring Breivik. He traveled to our summer camp on Utøya. First he exploded a bomb here. This, you see these buildings they are building outside? This is the government quarter of Norway. They are not in use now because they were exploded. 8 people lost their lives around the government building because he wanted to explode and he wanted to murder the Prime Minister of Norway. He wasn't able to do so. After he exploded the bomb, he drove to Utøya because he wanted to destroy AUF, the Social Democratic Youth Party, because he wanted to destroy the next generation of politicians. He knew that taking out the young people, that's how you destroy something. He failed. He murdered a lot of our people, a lot of our comrades, 69 young people and adults, mostly teenagers, the youngest being 14 years old. Over 60 people were murdered and shot on our island. A lot of our members today were in attendance, but that's why I say he failed. Because we are here, we are still the strongest, largest democratic force in Norway, without a doubt. Now Utøya has become a sort of a center for democracy. Young people from around the world, and especially young school children in Norway, visit Utøya every day. So every day there are people from around the world, they come there and they learn about the terrorist attack, but they learn about also why was it attacked. It's because of our values, and it was because of our democratic values and everything we fight for. And then they learn about what can we do? How can you fight for everyone's rights for free speech? How can you as a young person fight for democracy around the world? So Utøya has become stronger than ever before. But of course this was for AUF the loss of many of our friends and many of our members. It was a tragic loss for all of Norway. So in Utøya it's become a place to remember those we lost, a place to learn about democracy, freedom of speech, to learn more, and a place to engage. So I think it's hard when you visit Utøya, it's really hard to leave Utøya and not feeling that freedom of speech is important, not feeling that democracy is important. So Utøya has become a really special place. And Utøya is your own island, we say in AUF, because as a member of AUF, you own Utøya.
Thanks for the presentation.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you. Well, I hope you guys will enjoy Norway for as long as you're here. How long are you going to stay in Norway?
We are leaving on Saturday.
On Saturday. Okay.
Are
Are you going to visit any more?
No, vi går till Socialistisk Ungdom.
Well, they are great friends. We work with them a lot. Their party is not in government, so it's sort of interesting. We work with a lot of the same things, but they also challenge our government a lot. They're a bit more socialist than AUF. They're great friends of us, and they're like we work together a lot, and they're really they're great friends of us. So we sort of luckily in Norway we are able, especially in the youth part, to stay close connected.